Hi, this is Gregor from BassTheWorld.com. The fine folks from PEAVEY sent me 4 of their new Indonesian-made CIRRUS basses, and in this first video I'm going to show you 2 of them. The 4th-string with a tiger eye top and this 5th-string here with a red oak top. What's really interesting about those basses is that they are all neck-thru and they all have a 35-inch scale, even the 4th-string versions, so let's check them out. When you check the PEAVEY website for information about these basses and you look up the body woods or the woods they're using in the body wings here, all they write is depends on the model, which is rather interesting, I would say. So let me make a guess. I think that the high-class versions have older bodies or these side wings, and the mud basses, the other 2 basses that I will show you in the next video, have ash bodies. If you have any information about this, if you know anything better, just let us know in the comment section below so we can all share the truth, I guess. The 5-piece maple and mahogany neck goes all the way from the bottom up to the headstock, and what's cool about these so-called neck-thru designs is first of all they have a very long sustain. So if you like to have your tones ring out for a long time and you like a fast attack, then these might be for you. Another cool thing about neck-thru designs in general is that they have a lot less issues with dead spots, which is of course great. And another thing that's about these 5-piece multi-laminated necks is that they're very stable and very stiff. So for example, if you're playing in a warm venue and you go out afterwards and it's very cold, it's winter outside, with some basses, especially old school basses with 1-piece maple necks, they will bend and sometimes even twist, which is of course terrible. These necks usually are not affected by this at all, so this is really cool. On the front we have 24 frets and we have a very nice rosewood fingerboard. Tops on these basses are here mostly for aesthetic reasons, I guess, because with neck-thru basses everything happens in the middle on the neck basically. So the body wings have still a bit of influence on the sound, but the top, which is just a little piece of wood on top, has almost no effect at all. So of course these basses don't sound exactly the same, but I think even stuff like the 5-string having a bigger neck has probably a bigger influence on the tone than the tops. The hardware comes in a satin gold finish and looks really nice, and for the tuners, PEAVEY is using Goto tuners, which is of course amazing. That's great quality. And the bridge is this, and this looks a lot like the ETS bridges, the tuning fork models. And what's cool about those bridges is you can lock the saddles. So if you do the setup once and you do it properly and you never change the type of strings and the gauge of strings you're playing, then you will eventually never have to touch these saddles ever again. What's also really cool is that you can set up the strings in a 3D kind of way. That's what it's called. So you can adjust, of course, the intonation, the height of the strings, but also the position, so the string spacing. Of course, there's not a lot that you can do. It's not like 5 millimeters to the left and right, but it's a little bit. And for some, it might be necessary. The 4-string has a 19 millimeter string spacing, which is pretty much standard for 4-string basses. But the 5-string has something around a 17 millimeter spacing. I think this plays very comfortable and I like it actually a lot, but for some this might be a little bit too narrow, and those people will probably appreciate the fact that they can widen the spacing a little bit on the 5-string. For the pickups of these new CIRRUS basses, PEAVEY is using VFL models, those two, and these are active pickups. That means they have a relatively high output volume and they need the battery, they need some power. But what's great about active pickups is that they are operating almost completely noise-free, so you don't have to worry about any humming or hissing issues, and they also sound really good. But what's actually the coolest thing about these pickups is their covers. They are exactly curved in the same radius as the fingerboard, which is 12.6 inches. And if you do a proper setup, then you will most likely have the strings in the same radius over the pickups, and then it means that the distance between the core of the string and the pull piece in the pickup is always exactly the same. And this results in a very even sound throughout all the strings, and this is of course amazing. The preamp is running on 80 volts and it allows you to adjust bass, mids and treble. Of course, we also have a master volume and a panorama control to decide which pickups you want to use. But however, the preamp is, I think, very natural sounding and I like it a lot. Even if you turn all the controls all the way up, it's of course much louder, but it doesn't really sound so much different from what the bass sounds in a flat setting, and that's really cool, so you can't really mess up too much with it. Only thing I don't like about the preamp is not about the sound, but more in the way how they installed it. With this bass, for example, it's kind of hard to turn the knob. On other basses I got, they're almost loose, so PEAVEY, please don't let trainees do this. Get someone who's doing a proper job. My overall impression of these basses is really good. I'm not really a neck-thru guy, I'm not really a 35-inch scale neck guy, but man, these basses, they sound just really, really good, which is partly, of course, the active pickups, which is especially when you're recording a lot as I do. Active pickups are always great because you plug them in and you check the monitors on your headphones and you think, yeah, that's what a recorded bass is supposed to sound like after the production, and that's really cool about active pickups in general. Also with the 35-inch scale, the cool thing about this that especially on the B string, but also on the E string, so the 4-string profits from this in the same way. All the tones are very clean and you can clearly hear how the notes are separated from each other. I'm not the biggest PEAVEY fan, I think it's okay to say that, but I'm very impressed by these basses and they're really cool. And one thing I forgot to mention, they have these funny, weird, whatever metal plates on the back of the headstop, and PEAVEY says that these are first of all patent pending, so there's something going on, and these are supposed to help the sustain of the instrument, as if a neck-thru instrument needs more sustain. But however, the bass sounds great as it is, so this might be a part, who knows. Anyway, cool basses, they even come in a case, so if you're interested, just check them out on the PEAVEY website or with a dealer nearby or whatever. That's it for today. If you have any questions regarding these basses, just leave them in the comment section below. And otherwise, have a wonderful day. Bye.